I also have some questions from Yasu today that I want to answer. So the first one is if you had $1 billion, what would you do with it? And I have like the safe answer, which is like investing, maybe like buying a house. That would be amazing. But that's a little boring. So I feel like if I had no responsibilities and I had $1 billion to just spend, I would definitely go traveling. I love like treating my friends, buying stuff for them. So I would book us all a trip, maybe to like Mexico or Europe or somewhere in Asia, and cover all their flights, all their hotels, so that we could all just like go have a good time. A lot of them are big partiers, I'm not gonna lie. So maybe going to the clubs, trying new food like around the world, that would be amazing. I don't know how long that you could go just traveling the world with your friends on $1 billion, but I feel like that would be our plan for the next year or two. It's just blowing that money on travel and food and that kind of stuff. That would be the dream. But again, not the realistic answer. Because honestly, I do want a house. I do want to invest. I would give some of that money to my parents for helping me through college, all that kind of stuff. But in a perfect world, I would travel. The second question is what was your dream as a kid? Honestly, I had a lot of dreams. I feel like I was a very wishy-washy kid. I had a lot of different interests, and I swear my like dream career and like dream goal in life would change every other week. But one that I do remember sticking with for a lot was wanting to be a veterinarian. So I think that it's very common for kids to love animals, and I didn't really grow up with pets, like cats or dogs or anything like that. So I really wanted to be able to work with animals in the future, and I was like, oh, a veterinarian would be perfect. Again, I didn't know anything about like what it actually involved to be a vet, but yeah, that was what I would tell everyone when they asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? Just because all I thought it meant was that you hung out with cats and dogs all day. So yeah. Yasu also asked, what are you good at? A very broad question, but I feel like that just gives me more to talk about. I really pride myself on my cooking and baking. Whenever I go home, right now in college, I don't have access to a kitchen, so I don't really cook or bake a lot, but every time I go home, I am always like in the kitchen cooking. I think that it's just such a good, necessary skill. It makes your life so much easier. I love like cooking with my friends or cooking with my family, or like baking something for my neighbors and bringing it to them. I'm moving into a new place next year, and I was already talking with my future roommates. I'm like, guys, once we have all the furniture moved in, can we have a big baking night and go introduce ourselves to our neighbors, give them our number, give them some like cookies or something, just to kind of establish that relationship. I also would say like another skill that is kind of useful in all aspects of my life is I'm a very organized person. I credit my mom for this because I feel like she taught me all my organizational skills, but it's been super helpful in college just because I'm working like 2 jobs right now. I am in a sorority. I have classes. I have social stuff. I'm applying to like future internships and stuff like that. So it's just a lot to balance at once. And I think staying organized, like keeping a calendar, knowing what I want, when I want it, and like when I have things planned has been super helpful in staying efficient and just productive in college for sure. So yeah, 2 different sides of the spectrum, like the cooking and staying organized, but I feel like those are 2 skills that I really enjoy. Another question Yasu had for me was, if you could go back into the past, when would you go and what would you do? And honestly, I haven't thought about this one a lot before. I really like when I live right now. I feel like there's so many good things about the era that we're in, but I think one of my guilty pleasure answers would be I would go back into the 70s and see a David Bowie concert. He is my favorite artist ever, and he died back in 2016 when I was still in middle school. Like I was just entering middle school, so I feel like I didn't really appreciate music. I didn't really know a lot about him, but it was kind of during middle school and high school that I discovered him, and my dad really likes his music too, so that's something that we've talked about before. So I would love to see one of his concerts live, and obviously that's no longer possible because he passed away. But he has this like particular show in London that he did in 1973 that I would have loved to have been there. Like, the energy looked amazing, his performance was incredible, and it was like at the height of kind of his stardom, I would say, but also when one of his albums came out, which is my personal favorite album, so he was performing that one. So I would love to go back into the 70s and see that concert, and see him perform live. So yeah. The next question is, what is an emotionally powerful movie that I've seen, and what was it about? For this one, I would have to say Do the Right Thing. It's directed by Spike Lee. My dad had me watch it when I was younger, and I watched it again for a film class in high school. But it was directed in the 80s, and it kind of explores, it takes place in New York as well, and it explores, it's really hard to explain just like in one video, but it explores like basically racism in the US and the legacy of it. It mostly follows the Black community in New York, which was super like vibrant and, I don't know, interesting during the 80s. But it also has these Italian immigrants who own a pizza shop there. It has some Korean immigrants, I'm pretty sure, who own like a market in the neighborhood, and it's kind of exploring those racial tensions between them, but also like the influence of, I would say, white supremacy and oppressive structures within like our legal system, within our social systems, and how that kind of affects individuals' lives, but also like how it affects communities. It also explores police brutality a lot. It's always a movie that will make me cry. Like, I think it's particularly powerful just because you get so emotionally connected to the characters, and like the filming techniques are super interesting, but overall it's a really good watch. I'd recommend like it for anybody. I've seen it like a few times, and it's still like hard for me to explain without just telling you to go watch the movie. But yeah, that one's a really good one. The next question is, what has been the most fun thing in your life recently? And I feel like we just started spring quarter at the University of Washington, and it's just transitioning from like winter into spring, which is amazing in Seattle. We just had our cherry blossom festival at the university because we have these amazing cherry trees that bloom. There's so many tourists that come down to see it. All the like shops have cherry blossom themed like items or food or something like that. So that was super fun. But I'd say just like the transition to spring in general has been amazing. Everybody gets so much more friendly because of the good weather. Everybody's outside, and people are more talkative in general, which I love. I love being social, so I feel like when the weather reflects that and like helps people do that, I just have like the time of my life, you know? But yeah, it actually last Sunday, my friends and I, we went down to what's like the Montlake Cut. It's the channel in between Lake Union and Lake Washington. It's like a narrow little passage for ships to go through, but a lot of the university students kind of go down there to swim and chill and stuff like that. It wasn't quite warm enough for us to swim, but we sat outside and like we read books and we yelled at the boats passing by, which is always kind of fun to harass them a little bit. So yeah, that has been amazing, just going from rainy winter into sunny spring, and I'm really looking forward to that transition and for like spring and summer to finally be here, because winter in Seattle can definitely get a little boring. The next question is, if I were to travel to New York, what would I do there? I have a friend who's from Boston, actually, which is pretty close to New York, and she's been there a few times. She's told me about some really good restaurants that I have to visit. I can't name them off the top of my head, but I really want to go there. I know they have amazing food. And then I feel like just wander around. I think New York is known for being very eccentric and like having very eccentric people. So I feel like just walking through the streets of New York would be an interesting experience. You know, there are street performers, there's definitely just a lot of characters there. I would obviously go to Central Park. I heard it's beautiful. And then, yeah, just like admire the architecture. Oh, I would also want to take like a ferry to Manhattan, see the Statue of Liberty. I know it's a very like tourist thing to do, but I mean, I would be a tourist there, so you gotta do it. Plus it's such like an iconic monument. So I'd like to see it once at least. But yeah. My mom actually has been to New York, and she's always telling me she's gonna take me. I have yet to see that trip happen, but she loves it so much. She's definitely says that it's very overwhelming because it's just so fast-paced and there's a lot happening at once. But she loves it. She's always recommended for me to go, so yeah. Okay, the next question asked what I am going to do tomorrow, and honestly, Tuesday is a pretty chill day for me. I don't have a ton going on, and I don't have class till 10 a.m., so hopefully I'll get to sleep in a little bit. And then I go to the class with my friends, so I always look forward to walking there with them. And then I'll come back to the house for lunch, and right after lunch I have my Spanish class. I actually have an exam in that class tomorrow, which I'm a little nervous about, but honestly my Spanish classes are nice because they're super small, so you get a lot of chance to like practice conversation with people. And honestly, my professor, he's super chill, so hopefully he won't grade the exam too harshly, but definitely gonna do some studying for that tonight. And then right after Spanish class, I go to the gym. It's kind of annoying because that's like mid-afternoon, and that is the busiest time for the gym. Like there's so many students there, so I'm not always the most productive just because, you know, you have to wait for machines and you see people you know and all that, but it's still nice to get that in. And then I'll probably have dinner after that, and then honestly the rest of the day is just going to be studying. Earlier in the week I have a lot more work because I have to do my classes, or I have to do the work for my classes that I had that day, and then I also have classes the next day that I have to like do homework for. But yeah, that's just kind of my day. I'll probably just be studying until I go to sleep. I'm not gonna lie.
実践的な英会話を短期間で効率よく身につけたい方は、いろんなアメリカ人の生の英会話を学ぶのが一番です。英会話教材 This is 英会話では、アメリカ人約150人の生の英会話を紹介しています。概要欄に紹介していますので、ぜひ見てください。それでは次回をお楽しみに。